Welcome back to Education Care once more. Today I have brought in front of you the poem Nine Gold Medals by David Roth. Here we will be getting the complete explanation of the poem stanza wise. Hope this will help the students a lot. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. First stanza. The athletes had come from so many countries to run for the gold, for the silver, and the bronze. Many weeks and months in training, all building up to the games. Let's have a reflection. How does David Roth reflect the lines? We know who the athletes are and for what they are competing. They are competing for the gold, silver, and bronze. And they had spent many weeks in training. They had built up themselves for the games, to participate in the games, to bag the first, second, and the third prize. And before moving on to the second stanza, let me tell one thing. The sports event that is being highlighted by the poet here is about a spatial Olympics. Now we know Olympics are held after every 4 years, and what do spatial Olympics mean? It means the physically handicapped or the differently abled persons participate in these sports. This is specially done to uplift and encourage their moral as well as their motivation. Now let us begin the second stanza. All round the field spectators were gathered, cheering on all the young women and men. Then the final event of the day was approaching, the last race about to begin. So in the second stanza, we see that the field where that sport event was going to be held was filled with audience and spectators, and they were cheering all around the galleries, encouraging the athletes. And it was the final event of the day, and the race was just about to begin. Now let us move to the third stanza. Okay, so let us have a look. The loudspeakers called out the names of the runners, the 100 meters, the race to be run. And 9 young athletes stood there determined and poised for the sound of the gun. What does the third stanza tell? And the loudspeakers, the names of the runners who were going to participate in that race were called out. And it was a 100-meter race. And how many athletes were there? 9, and all of them were young. And there was a determination in their faces that they will achieve something and mark something in that spatial Olympics. That would be really, really special for them. And they were all waiting eagerly for the sound of the gun that was to be shot, with which they had to start the race. Now let us come to the fourth stanza. The signal was given, the pistol exploded, and so did the runners on hearing the sound. But the youngest among them stumbled and staggered, and he fell on his knees to the ground. A tragic incident took place here. The pistol exploded. With that, they gave up their startups, and the youngest among the participants, the youngest among the 9 participants, just in the beginning he stumbled and staggered and he fell on his knees to the ground. He fell on the ground. So it was really a tragic event or incident that happened. Now let's see what happens in the fifth stanza. He gave out a cry of frustration and anguish, his dreams and efforts dashed in the dirt. But as sure as I am standing here telling the story, now it's a strange one, but here's what occurred. So when the youngest athlete among the 9, he fell during the starting of the race, there was a cry of frustration, of anguish, of disgust out of his mouth. And his dreams and efforts had been shattered. The months and days that he had spent to build himself up had ended. His hope of bagging the gold prize came to an end. Now it's really a great, great disappointment. But as sure as I am standing here, what does the poet try to say here? poet says there, as he is telling the story, of course it's a strange one, but this is what had occurred. Now let's come to the sixth stanza of the poem. The eight other athletes stopped in their tracks, the ones who had trained for so long to compete. One by one they turned round and came back to help him and lifted the lad to his feet. See, the dramatic incident that changed the entire scenario of the event. One among the nine athletes had fallen to the ground. He was crying out of despair, out of frustration, out of anguish, out of disappointment. And the eight others, they did not keep running, they stopped. They stopped to come back to their fellow mate, and they lifted this youngest lad to his feet. What an immense sacrifice was it from their part. They had waited 4 years, they had trained themselves 4 years, 4 hard years, and now, without running in the race, they came back to help this lad. Can you even imagine what an act of excessive humanity is reflected here? And the sportsman spirit too. Now let us come to the concluding two stanzas. Then all 900 runners joined hands and continued the 100 meters, reduced to a walk, and the banner above that said Special Olympics could not have been nearer the mark. So the nine runners, they did not run the 100 meters, just they crossed it by walking, and there was the banner Special Olympics. Yes, it had hit the mark, because nothing could have been better under that banner. This act of humanity, this act of selfless love and dedication and care and affection is all brought out here. And in the eighth stanza, we see that that's how the race ended with 9 gold medals. They came to the finish line holding hands still, and the banner above and 9 smiling faces said, "More than the sweet words ever will," said, "More than the sweet words ever will." So what happened? How does the poem end? Each of them, each of the 9 participants were awarded with a gold medal, and they came to the finishing line holding hands still. And could there have been anything better to this event? Really, their sportsman spirit, their attitude had made it a really, really special Olympics. Thank you, my dear students. Hope this explanation will help you a lot. In my next video, I am going to bring the explanation of Abu Ben Adam. And please keep watching and share it as much as possible.